Dr. Sharma, the
Great.
stage is
Thank
all
you.
yours.
Yeah, thank you, Ria. Good day to everyone, people who have joined across the globe. I am assuming everyone is safe and having a good day. Right. And a very good day and warm welcome to both the panelists. We have a very esteemed panelist here, and the fireside chat, I assume, is going to be very meaningful and insightful to all the people who have joined us. Let's just to start with the basic introduction. I am Dr. Yask. I'm the CISO for a large oil and gas installation based out in India. I handle the cybersecurity and the privacy part. Along with me in the panel today, we have Deepayan. Deepayan is an enterprise security architect with a large financial institute, and he has over 25 years of industry experience. He is also served in the Indian Air Force and has also authored a book on pen testing with Kali Linux. Then we have Anthony. Anthony is the Vice President of Systems Engineering for Asia Pac at FireEye. Before FireEye, Anthony has handled different roles in EMC, IBM, Pilot, and he's based in Singapore at FireEye's regional headquarters. He's the one who helps customers like us to help in defending ourselves, right? So to start with, we are going to talk about the endpoint security. Any kind of a security discussion that we start or end with always starts with the endpoints. In fact, the gentleman who was presenting before us also mentioned quite a few things. Fileless attacks, any kind of an attack or any kind of a defense mechanism. The first thing that comes to mind is the visibility part as to what all is there for you to defend, and obviously the endpoints are the ones. And in fact, what we have seen in the last 24 odd months, the perimeters have gone. We have been having these discussions about perimeters are no more existing. The endpoints are just across everywhere. The point is, how do we secure these endpoints? So we are going to talk about in the next 25, 30 odd minutes, as to what are the latest capabilities that the OEMs are offering, how the end customer is doing it. Let me start with Anthony. Anthony, you come
Hi.
from a hi, Anthony. You come from a solution company. There are various buzzwords. I would say. We started off with the EDR, then came XDR, the MDRs. Can you very quickly, shed some light on these buzzwords? I would say.
Sure. Hi, Dr. Yes, and hi, Deepan. So this first question, when we talk about this three-letter acronym, in fact, the first acronym everybody will be familiar with EPP, which is primarily around the protection of the endpoint, typically in antivirus and host control, host-based firewall. And EDR is actually endpoint detection and response. What it's talking about is an incremental capability on the endpoint to be able to do forensic work or the malware's detection in terms of the attacks, as well as many of the new modules that vendors are putting in place to help accelerate identifying who is the real bad guy, what they have they been doing. XDR is a very recent terminology. It's more a architecture or an architecture that you put together primarily around a telemetry from different sources, including an EDR, to help accelerate the detection to respond for any security operation. MDR is interesting because MDR is an evolution from the managed security service provider to a situation where you are using an EDR to provide a service and an outcome. So if you look at managed security services, it's around SLA, right? How many things comes in, how much is true positive, how much is false positive, and at the end, you still bring it back to the customer and they have to go through the validated alerts. For MDR, it's not SLA based, it's objective based. The idea is that even when nothing is going on, I'm going to go into your environment and see if there's a bad guy there. So the EDR tool becomes very important. So the way this whole three acronym talks about is how technology evolve, how services evolve. I hope that addresses your question.
Certainly it does, Anthony. In fact, the evolution, we started off with the EDR, came the XDR, and you have rightly pointed about the MDR part. When nothing is apparently going wrong, still there is a lot of hunting that is to be done, get deep down into the things, figure out as to what is happening. So let me go to Deepayan. Deepayan, you have been in the industry for a good 2.5 decades, and you've also served the Indian Air Force. I would want to understand, let's start with the first thing, the EDR. What do you think would be the key considerations when you have to let's say, go for an EDR solution. We'll talk about the rest of the other things, MDR and HDR later on. Let's start with EDR. What do you think are the key considerations?
Yeah, thank you, Yask, and thanks, Anthony, for the lead. See, now it's been very interesting how all these terminologies and the technologies are actually evolving in last couple of years, right? Initially, if I really look back, a couple of years back, there was no EDR or there was no, XDR. Even that concept never existed, right? It was all either the heads and maybe the endpoint security was there to some extent. That's how it all started, right? But as the attack infrastructure is increasing, the type of attacks that's happening are completely diverse, right? So maybe because of that necessity, all these technologies are evolving, right? And it is always challenging for an end user to go pick and choose the technology that is the right fit for themselves. It's always challenging. It's not just about EDR or MDR or any of these products, any security product that we talk today. There are plenty. So when it comes to EDR, I think the first thing that probably we look for is mostly the coverage of that particular technology, like what it is covering. What is the landscape? Like, is it covering my cloud versus on-prem infrastructure, or whether it will cover only the VDI if it is in cloud, or will it also cover my container space? There is something serverless these days. So legacy is always a problem. So if any endpoint is covering legacy part of it, is really really something that is key. So the other piece is about the monitoring part, right? It's not just having the EDR in place, but it is also about having the monitoring in place. Now, the monitoring capabilities, like, does it give me a full capture of the endpoint activities, or it is just trying to do, say, only the file telemetry? So, from the coverage perspective, monitoring perspective, so that's where I think it's really key. Let's say, for example, a user activity, what's happening in the user space. I think the presentation that was there right before us, we did saw that in the kill chain, how identity moves forward right after the 6th phase. So it's key to figure out what's the user activity going on, because the user activity tells a lot. On the face of it, it's very hard to tell whether that user activity is from a legitimate user or adversary, because probably the identity is compromised. So that is one other key part. The other is really the protection against the known and unknown breaches, because known breaches are probably easier to go detect because it's already known for a while. The unknown space is, I think, where the struggle is. So obviously that's one of the key points when looking at any of the endpoint or EDR products right there. The other important piece, I will say, the efficiency that it brings in. It should reduce the effort of the security operations rather than increase. So contextualization is really important, that what it is contextualizing to and how it is giving me curated results rather than just throwing me noise. So I think that's pretty much important. So the speed, agility, and accuracy is the last piece, I will say, that is important when we are looking at any of the EDR solutions.
Right, Dipan, that makes sense. So agility is certainly important, and the coverage is obviously the most foundational and fundamental requirement when it talk about any kind of EDR solution. And this question of mine would be to both you and Anthony. We have been hearing about this, EDR, but then there is this requirement of high fidelity visibility. EDR does not really serve the purpose as much as a security professional want. Therefore, we have these requirements of XDRs and India. Let me start with you, Anthony. Very quickly, can you, just a bit on these two things? Do you think these are really? Now the mandatory required tools for a security professional? Are these essential for an organization? Your view on these?
Sure. So I think let me start with MDR first. Managed detection and response. is a service that built on the foundation that the customer or the enterprise has an EDR infrastructure in place. Because if you look at the managed security services, usually you will stream out logs from your environment, whether it's a perimeter securities or AD logs or DNS, to a third party, probably off-premise, for them to do analysis. In MDR case, the service provider will need to have access to the MDR tool or EDR tool and be able to do response when something goes wrong. And the primary objective of that is not just doing investigation forensic, it's also to do proactive hunting. For example, if I'm in insurance space and I'm a service provider and my customer in insurance got breached, I want to make sure I do a proactive campaign or proactive hunting to see other insurance customer, are they affected as well? So MDR tend to be a lot more outcome based. You don't expect to see a lot of volume compared to, let's say, MSSP type service, because you're not going to get like 1,000 alerts or 2,000 alerts. It's going to be when something goes wrong, this is your backup plan before you call on your cyber security insurance, right? So MDR, to me, I think there's different aspect. If an enterprise do not have the right level of skill set, I would say MDR is essential in ensuring that until the point where you have the expertise, these are the experts that will back you up at level 2 or L3, right? So they are almost like your last line of defense before you reach out and call your IR responder, which you sign up on retainer, right? I mean, today, resilient in cybersecurity is all about how fast you get up onto your feet when a breach actually happens. For XDR is slightly different. XDR is more taking what you set up today from a tech stack, let's say your EDR or your SIM, and you say that, hey, a lot of my data are in silo. How do I extend it, make it work together, and give me better visibility? So if you look at SolarWinds, you look at the different sort of these bridges, the signals are in there, but it's weak. Can you make multiple telemetry work together and give you the outcome you want? So I'll give you a classic example of what I see from yesterday. I was in a conversation with a customer. Their QRadar, right? QRadar is good, all nice, and they're using case management with Phantom, right? And then they're using EDR, let's say, with another vendors. Now, their issue is all these products are running in silo. They only stream out the syslog into the QRadar. Now, when they try to find out, hey, is there any correlation between different products? There's a little bit of limited in the effort because they don't have direct control from QRadar onto the EDR tool. So for them to build an XDR architecture, they will have to use that Phantom or that the case management SOAR platform to tightly tie the XDR and the QRadar and put in place better data model, analytics, so that the outcome and the correlation becomes stronger. So it's not necessarily a product, but a architecture that they need to put in place. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea of, one is more, I don't have people, let me take that and get some assurance and while I build my capability in people. The other one is I want to extend visibility, detection, and response capability. Okay, back to you, Dr. Yes.
Right, Anthony. Yes, I really am, intrigued about this MDR piece. And as an end user, Dipan, what are your views? Do you think these are really essential now for the XDR and the MDR piece?
See, I think I will add on to what Anthony neatly put out, right? See, XDR really spans across everything, right? And now, right, starting from my on-prem to email to network, and even the third parties that we use, right? So that's where the span of XDR is. That's why the term extended. I think it really gives organizations like us, right, then added advantage to see everything in one place in a contextualized, more singular view, or I think classically we all call it as a single pane of glass, right? So that kind of gives me full view what's across my entire infrastructure, what across all my application base or infrastructure base, correct? Now, having said that, it also shows the complete attack path at times when there is an attack. Let's say, for example, if there is a data breach, and that data breach could have started as a result of a phishing attack somewhere in one of the endpoints. Now that has probably slowly escalated towards my cloud. Now, how do I have that visibility if if I don't have the capability to go contextualize everything and have sensors everywhere. So that's the whole concept of XDR. And it's not just one single component, it's probably multiple component and sensors working together is where XDR is. My email systems, let's say, for example, I have Office 365 presence, right? And if for some reason my multi-factor authentication is compromised, and it has been compromised in past, it's not like something new, it happens every now and then. Probably Anthony sees it as part of their incident response quite often with the customer. So if we have the ability to stitch it all together, then it really kind of gives that value from XDR point of view. And the added advantage for organizations like us is if somebody is really managing it behind the scene for us, it's really an added advantage. And that's where probably the MDR part comes into place, right? Somebody who is doing the threat hunting day in, day out without even us bothering that we have to sit there and do it all the time, because most of the service providers, they are deep into the threat intel. They have their own threat intel mechanisms, which is kind of very useful for organizations. So I think both are really valuable in my opinion, the XDR and MDR, but it's up to the organizations to go pick and choose which one they want to go for. It's really the fit for purpose use kind of a thing, right?
Absolutely. I think, in fact, if we consider the current scenario across the globe, the pandemic brought forward this teleworking to the forefront, and in which a lot of employees were using uncontrolled or the machines which were unmanaged machines by the enterprise. I think it has become even more important for organizations to have even deeper visibility into these endpoints. Therefore, I think XDR is an absolute must now. I mean, gone are the days when we relied only on EDRs, and I think MDR, again, the point that Anthony had mentioned, that it does things when nothing is apparent. I think these are
exactly.
the times are such that these are absolutely essential now.
Now, when actually breach happens, it's just the crisis management. But before the breach happens, what we do really matters. So I think from that standpoint, MDR really makes more sense. And to your point, you asked, like, in today's scenario, when everybody is spread across, all remote, XDR makes sense there, because I'm connected to my infrastructure maybe only through email, nothing else, right? If my email system is compromised, how am I going to know? So XDR provides that kind of a visibility, what's happening behind the scene. So security operations have clear picture.
Absolutely. Now is the time for the heightened awareness levels. Now, Anthony, this is a conversation that a lot of security professionals around the globe have. We have so many endpoint solutions, and now they talk of these integrated solutions, which are probably going to attack all the zero-day malwares and all that. What are your views about this integrated solution when there are so many tools, technologies on offer?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question, because I think most of the advanced attack today are signatureless. They are potentially zero-day malware. And when I say zero-day malware, all it means is that there's no signature for this, which means it largely depends on the technology or any technology to be detected. So I think being integrated only means that the endpoint solution or the EDR solution work complementary with data from another source to be able to quickly be activated or be used. So I will be very specific on a few examples. Like, for example, with the solution that we sell, and I'm not trying to market the product, anytime we detect a network callback to a command and control server, what we do is we push that IP address to all the endpoints and says, have you seen any of this endpoint connect to this C2 server in the last 12 hours, 24 hours? So that doesn't require user intervention, no administrator intervention. So if you ask me, that kind of integration speed up detection and it speed up protection. Because once you say, hey, this 10 machine has tried to do that in the last 3 hours, what you could immediately do and say, go contain the 10 machine so that you reduce the risk and stop it before it happens. The other kind of integration is with SIEM. Today, many SOC uses SIEM to do threat hunting because telemetry data comes back, they're trying to do some stuff, but a lot of more detailed threat hunting activities got to be done at the per host level. So what happens is you got to go to the whole the endpoint or the EDR console to do all sorts of query while you have to go to the SIEM, and it may not be from the same vendor. So being integrated means that I can run some stuff on the SIEM and push threat through a integration platform like a SOAR to the EDR, which I don't even know where it is. Theoretically, it can even be different EDR for different subsidiary in a company. So when you start looking at that integration, suddenly your endpoint, your EDR integration with your other platform becomes very important. Last but not least is Intel, right? When there's Intel coming on some latest attacks, it could be TTP based, it could be IP based, it could be IOC based. How fast can you roll it out to your endpoint? In a nutshell, the EDR or the endpoint must empower the organization to do response and forensic work at scale. Whether it's one site, 10,000 machine, 20 site at 200,000 machine, how do you do those investigations fast? I think if you have that, that is a good integrated solution. Back to you, Dr. Yes.
Yeah, Anthony, I think the key that all of us have now realized it's gone beyond just identification and protection. It's all about detection now. How quickly we can detect. As you mentioned, the case that if something has been found in one particular part, why not propagate immediately to all the endpoints? So that is how it should be. Rather than actually, going a couple of years back, we used to do it manually. Take the data, ingest it into some of these systems. I think this makes sense. Right. So, Dipan, going forward with this only, whenever we talk about any kind of a security deployment or architecture, we tend to look at a certain framework. We need to follow a certain framework. All the companies would be, or all the professionals would be following a certain framework. Coming to the endpoints, since we are talking about the endpoints, there are a lot of TTPs. How much do you think the MITRE ATT&CK framework is relevant in this case? And then do you think that using that would make sense, or how do you use it?
Yeah, I think in my perspective, MITRE ATT&CK really provides a great coverage, right? Starting from initial phase, like it has got 12 phases, right? So initial phase to exfiltration to finally the impact phase, right? In between there are other phases. So from an endpoint perspective, it kind of gives me a visibility into the distinct attack phases. If we really look carefully, a lot is happening in the endpoint itself whenever there is an attack, rather than happening, at some other front, because one way or other way, the infiltration would have happened right within the system through some or other mechanism. The most popular mechanism is always the phishing and spear phishing attacks, right? Or maybe some way of drive-by download mechanism. So either way, the more action is in the endpoints. And I think MITRE presents a unique opportunity from endpoint security per se to monitor those signals, understand those signals, where those signals are, what are those activities happening, whether it is kind of exploiting some of the known DLL files, or is there a known vulnerabilities that's being exploited, or maybe the identity itself is compromised. Lateral movement, for example, right, is something which is really detectable at endpoint level, because if we are monitoring the identity and who logs into what. The other piece is moment any adversary is into the system, they want to become persistent because they want to keep the foothold on, and then from there they want to pivot out. So what are those signals? What are those telemetries? How we can detect those? Then we can say, okay, that's the area where they're probably getting in, and how they can figure out their way inside the system. So a lot is actually happening within the endpoint space itself, be it data exfiltration, or be it persistence, or be it lateral movement point of view. So these signals are really important, and I think MITRE framework really provides a neat neat kind of things that you can go and pick and choose to see where we are at and how those signals map to certain TTPs. So I think at some point, it also gives us an opportunity to go figure out what our capabilities are, where our gaps are. If we are doing any red team activities, these can really come handy, because in red team, it might come up that we have capability in some areas and some areas we don't. We can also use MITRE ATT&CK framework at that space to see where we couldn't detect certain things. So it comes really handy in my perspective, right? It plays a really important role.
Yes, certainly, Dipan, it does. In fact, the kind of comprehensive framework that MITRE provides, you can map each of your controls, each of the steps to all the TTPs that are there. In fact, not just to endpoint, I think about the IT, OT as well, also they have come out with the framework. I think that kind of helps all the security processes. So, Dipan, Anthony, thanks a lot. I think we have run out of time, and I would, Ria, if there are any questions from the people who are attending this, please do give it to us. I guess we are already out of time, but if there are any questions, we can take one or two.
Thanks, Dr. Sharma. I'm just looking at the chat box. No, we do not have any questions as of now. So I would just like to thank all of you for joining us today and for giving your deep insights on this very important topic. I'm sure all the people who are watching us live right now have gained a lot of key takeaways from this session. And a big thank you to all the gentlemen for giving up time from your busy schedule and for enlightening us with your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Ria. Thank you, Dr. Yas.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too.